With just 9 MPPs at Queen's Park, Bonnie Crombie's Ontario Liberals are banking on this election to not just grow their influence in the legislature, but also wrestle power away from Doug Ford's Conservatives. It is a tall task. Joining us to discuss the Liberal strategy, public affairs and political consultant Shanice Scott from Hill & Knowlton. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, this is busy season, campaign time. Everyone is out on the roads. Let's begin with Doug Ford, who has sort of positioned himself as, say, Captain Canada right now as we wait on what's happening with these tariffs and saying, I'm doing X, Y, Z. That seems to be his main platform.
Yes.
And it seems to be working for him if you're looking at some of the public opinion polls. What's your take on where platforms stand right now within the parties?
I think it's important to understand that we are looking at different things and different kind of viewpoints for the parties. Premier Ford is going in with a tariff referendum, and I think Bonnie Crombie is really trying to push it to a health referendum. You can see from how she's laid out the Liberals' bus that it's all about healthcare for her. I think we're seeing two different ballot questions right now, and it's going to be a really big battle in who can win out, I think, and cut through the noise.
Yeah, how do you cut through the noise, right? Ontarians, do they even have an appetite to head to the polls? We're looking ahead, we're months away from a federal election too. There might be some people where they're just like, I can't distinguish between any of this. I can't decipher political parties. Maybe I'm not even going to vote. Do you think that there's that apathy at this point?
I think there's definitely a little bit of apathy. It's been a lot for, I think, Ontarians, especially given, the wave of what it's been like since Trump has been reelected, going into an early election. I think it's hard to get people to the polls in general, but then having a snap election and not really a change election. Given the polls, we see that it's going to probably most likely be a PC government again. So there isn't really much of a change. I think it's really incumbent on Bonnie Crombie to really come out as she's, next in the polls to show this is how the Liberals will lead in Ontario, and this is how they will make a difference to those, pocketbook issues or healthcare issues and education. And maybe if this was a typical election, we might actually be talking about the Greenbelt scandal, and this might look very different for
Ontario
voters.
Place. There is a whole slew of things.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about your experience, because you worked under the Kathleen Wynne government, and specifically in the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, which is really important as we look toward these potential tariffs as well. What is your take on what power the provincial government, whether it be PC, Liberal, or what have you, what power do they have in their hands to fight?
I think actually the government in Ontario has a lot of power sitting at the table. We have these two big industries. We have the auto sector and we have agriculture, making up a ton of jobs in southwestern Ontario and throughout the rest of the province. That is a good bargaining chip. Our economies are quite tied to the Great Lakes states, and those governors really rely on some of our imports. So I think there is a harmony there, and we really need to levy that, I think, along with the government.
There's an appetite right now, this whole buy Ontario, buy Canada. How much momentum do you think that this can carry right now for the next month, 2 months? We don't know what's going to happen. A lot of this is up in the air right now. What sort of momentum is there out there?
I think consumers have been, plagued with this decision for a long time. I think this was always something that Ontarians and Canadians writ large were going to have to face. How long were we going to prop up other countries' economies when we can be propping up our own? I think of the LCBO decision. I actually quite like that decision. I think about our wine sector in Canada and in Ontario specifically. How do we give more space and more opportunities? And I think this is something that I hope consumer behavior changes for the long run.
Okay, so a lot can happen. As we've seen, things are changing by the hour.
Absolutely.
But appreciate your insight at this point, and we'll be chatting again. Shanice Scott with Hill & Knowlton. Thank you.
Thank you.